Have you ever wondered what the biggest trap you might fall into is? Believing you have unlimited time, procrastinating, doubting yourself, and letting fear make the decisions while time passes and you do nothing to change. The truth is hard to face, but you need to hear it. No one will come to save you. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, one day you'll wake up and realize you've wasted your life. But don't worry, you're not alone. We've all been there, stuck in doubt and comfort. The difference is that some people get up and take action. Today, we're going to talk about Stoic philosophy in a simple and straightforward way, with the clarity you need to take action and start improving. I'll share lessons that will open your eyes and finally get you moving. So, tell me, will you keep wasting time, or are you ready to act? But before we begin, listen to a story that will help you better understand what I want to share. In a small coastal village, there lived a young fisherman named Matthew. He was very skilled with his nets and knew the sea well, but he felt like something was missing. Every morning as he cast his nets, he would look at the horizon, dreaming of improving his fishing and his life. One day, while sailing alone in his small boat, an unexpected storm stirred the sea. Huge waves threatened to capsize his vessel, and the wind kept him from returning to shore. Despite his efforts, he quickly realized that resisting was useless. He needed a strategy. That's when he remembered the words of his grandfather, Eugene, a wise fisherman. The sea is a teacher that shows you something every day. It's not enough to know how to swim. You need to learn how to read the waves. Inspired by this advice, Matthew began paying close attention to the movements of the water and realized that, instead of fighting the currents, he could use them to his advantage. With patience and determination, he adjusted the sails of his boat and steered it toward a small cove he remembered from his past explorations. After several hours, he managed to find a safe spot. The next day, when he returned to the village, his neighbors were surprised, as many thought he was lost. But not only did he return safe and sound, he also brought back a valuable lesson. He shared with the other fishermen how observation and adaptation helped him overcome adversity. Each day gives us the chance to improve, even if just a little, he told the younger fisherman. If you learn from challenges, you'll become stronger and wiser. From that day on, Matthew not only dedicated himself to fishing, but also taught others how to face challenges with calm and strategy. His story became an example of how constant growth not only improves our skills but also changes the way we view life. The lesson from this story is clear. Progress doesn't require radical changes, but the ability to adapt, observe, and always learn. Striving to improve a little every day will allow you to turn even the hardest situations into opportunities to move forward. Before we start with the first lesson, if you find these videos helpful, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated. Now, let's talk about the power of small steps. Lesson 1. Have you ever heard that, to change your life, you need to take a big leap? Let me tell you, this idea is just as wrong as thinking breakfast will fix your Monday. In fact, the power lies in the small steps, the little victories that, even though they're subtle, build the life you want. It's easy to think that you need to do something grand to change your life. Our vision of success is often filled with big achievements and epic moments. But if you pay attention, you'll see that the really important changes don't come from a single heroic act, but from those days when you do something, no matter how small, that brings you closer to your goal. It's like when you decide that instead of binge watching a show, you'll take a 15-minute walk. It's not a marathon, but it's a step toward better health. Or when you decide to read 10 pages of a book, instead of endlessly scrolling through your phone like it's essential. Those moments make a difference. And Stoic philosophy has a lot to teach us about this. The Stoics didn't believe in huge changes overnight. They knew that true progress is the sum of small daily efforts. Instead of waiting for everything to be solved at once, they believed in working every day, even when the path seemed long and tiring. The key is not giving up. It's about moving forward, even if just one step at a time. This is the secret to lasting change. Now, the real question is, how do you push yourself to improve every day? Here's a simple but very effective strategy. Create habits. Yes, it's that simple. The power of habits is that they become automatic over time. The trick is to start with something you can do without much effort, something that makes you feel like you're accomplishing something, even if it's small. Maybe you won't follow an Olympic athlete's workout routine, but you can stretch for 5 minutes right after waking up. Of course you can. You can avoid the temptation to put off an important task. These small steps make all the difference by the end of the day. If you find it hard to start, don't worry. You don't need to solve everything at once. Focus on one day at a time. If you didn't manage to do everything you wanted today, don't blame yourself. But if you took that small step, even if it doesn't seem big, celebrate that win. Life isn't measured by big moments, but by a series of small decisions. And it's those decisions that shape your future. Remember, the key isn't in changing everything at once, but in letting these small changes add up. Do this every day, without exception, and you'll see how time will work in your favor. As the saying goes, if you want your life to change, start by being consistent, improving a little every day. Instead of worrying about making huge leaps, begin with those small steps that, even though they're invisible, bring you closer and closer to the life you want. The secret to success lies in small victories. Don't forget that consistency, even if it doesn't make you shine right away, will take you further than any isolated effort. As they say, change isn't about doing big things, but about doing small things consistently. The sum of those little wins builds the future. Lesson 2. Discipline beats desire. Discipline and desire are opposing forces that shape our lives in different ways. Desire draws us in with temporary promises of pleasure, but discipline guides us toward longer-lasting and more meaningful goals. The real key to personal growth lies in how we handle these forces. Discipline can be your ally to overcome the fleeting urges of desire and create a purposeful life. Desire is like a quick fire. It ignites intensely, but soon fades out. Discipline, on the other hand, is like the sun, steady, persistent, and dependable. When we base our actions solely on desire, we're at the mercy of unstable emotions. For instance, you may feel motivated to exercise today because of an inspiring video, but what happens tomorrow when that urge is gone? Self-discipline keeps you steady, even when motivation disappears. It's the ability to do what needs to be done, not because you want to, but because you understand the purpose of your actions. This consistency is key to reaching long-term goals and turning dreams into reality. The mind can be our greatest ally or our biggest enemy. Often, our impulses and emotions try to sabotage the best intentions. How many times have you given in to the temptation of pleasurable but unimportant tasks instead of taking action? Controlling your mind means recognizing these impulses and responding consciously, rather than reacting automatically. The Stoics taught that you need to be the master of your emotions, not their slave. By observing your thoughts without yielding to them, you make better choices. Practices like meditation, or simply pausing to reflect before acting, can help build this control. Greatness isn't achieved all at once, but through small repeated steps over time. Each time you choose discipline over desire, you're building a strong foundation for your goals. For example, writing 1 page a day may not seem like much, but in a year, you'll have written a book. Consistency in small actions creates a cumulative effect that magnifies your efforts. This means that even on days when it feels like you're not making much progress, you're still moving forward. Just like the body gets stronger with exercise, willpower also grows with practice. Each time you choose discipline, you strengthen your mind. Start with small challenges like waking up 5 minutes earlier or avoiding sugar for a week. These actions prepare you for bigger challenges in the future. The key is to be consistent and gradually progress, celebrating every small step as a victory. In a world full of distractions, immediate pleasure is a constant temptation. Social media and processed foods are designed to give us quick gratification, but rarely offer lasting benefits. The Stoics believed in facing these distractions with self-control. Ask yourself before giving in, does this bring me closer or further from my goals? By recognizing the traps of instant pleasure, you can channel your energy into more valuable activities. Discomfort isn't something to avoid. It's a teacher that shows us resilience. When you resist temptation or face challenges, you're preparing to handle bigger difficulties in the future. Tough days are disguised opportunities for growth. When you feel uncomfortable while exercising, studying, or working, remember that you're developing skills that will benefit you later. Do it, even if you don't feel like it. That sums up discipline. You won't always feel motivated, but the key is to act anyway. Great achievements don't depend on how you feel, but on your commitment to the process. Imagine a runner who trains every day, even when tired or cold. Consistency takes them to the finish line, not the days when everything seemed perfect. Adopt this mindset and you'll see how, even on tough days, you move toward your goals. Discipline is the force that takes you beyond the limits of immediate desire and pushes you toward a life of accomplishments. Lesson 3. Routines that transform. Have you ever said, "I'll do it tomorrow"? And of course, tomorrow never comes. Every time you say that, you just sink deeper into procrastination. If you've ever felt stuck in this cycle, don't worry, you're not alone. It's a trap we all fall into, especially when we focus more on excuses than on taking action. But what if I told you that your ideal day isn't something far off or impossible? It's not magic, but the result of creating habits that drive personal growth. The key is in routines, in the small choices we make every day. What you do in the morning, for example, can set the tone for the rest of your day. Instead of diving into chaos, why not start with a simple routine, a few minutes of meditation or a walk to clear your mind? These moments, although they seem simple, hold great power. True change isn't just about how you start your day, but how you keep it going. The Stoics spoke about the importance of self-control, not giving in to impulses, and constantly striving for improvement. Force yourself to improve each day, they said. This doesn't mean waiting for perfect circumstances, because they don't exist. It means committing to making your day count, even with small steps. Maybe you can't write a 300-page book today, but you can write one page. Maybe you can't change your life in a single morning, but you can take one step. The key is consistency. Start with something simple, something you can control, and that makes you feel like you're moving forward. As you incorporate new habits, you'll see that it's easier than you think. For example, write down 3 things you're grateful for when you wake up. This can completely change your outlook on the day. Or, if you struggle with making decisions, take a few minutes to reflect on what you did well and what you didn't. This small exercise helps focus on the positive and make better decisions. As Seneca said, it's not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot. The routines you build today not only help organize your day, but also lay the foundation for your future. You don't need radical changes, just a commitment to improve a little each day. This is what truly transforms your life and brings you closer to that ideal version of yourself. As Gandhi said, progress isn't in big steps, but in the consistency of small changes. Lesson 4. Learn to deal with difficulties. Life is full of challenges. Instead of fearing them or running away from them, learning to handle difficulties is key to personal growth. This skill not only allows us to face problems with more calm, but also helps turn them into opportunities for improvement. Adversity is, in fact, a disguised chance. How do we change the way we think when facing difficulties? Adversity has a hidden intention: to make us stronger. Each challenge can be seen as an opportunity to push our limits. Changing our mindset means adopting a more positive outlook, seeing problems as allies in our development. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? This simple question helps turn difficulties into valuable lessons and prepares you to face bigger problems with more confidence. Nothing outside of us has power over our actions. Following the Stoic principle of focusing only on what we can control is freeing. The Stoics believe that true power comes from within. Even when we can't control what happens around us, we have the ability to choose how we respond. Practicing this philosophy frees us from unnecessary stress and allows us to respond with wisdom and calm to every challenge. Ask yourself, what depends on me in this situation? Focus on that and let everything else go. Every mistake is a lesson for success. Learning to take lessons from tough moments is crucial. Failure isn't the end, but another step toward success. Each failure teaches us something about our strengths and weaknesses. To learn from these mistakes, analyze them objectively. What went wrong? What could have been done differently? This self-reflection will help you prepare better for future situations. As Thomas Edison said, "I haven't failed, I've just found 10 ways that don't work." Patience is an important, though often underrated virtue. Building resilience takes time and persistence. Facing difficulties with patience. Facing difficulties with patience means accepting that results don't always come right away. Learn to value the process, not just the outcome. When you feel overwhelmed, take a deep breath and remember that every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal. Patience, along with constant action, is your greatest ally. Discomfort is what shapes strong people. How can you see challenges as allies in your growth? Comfort rarely leads to growth. It's in moments of struggle that we truly discover what we're capable of. Change your view of challenges. Instead of avoiding them, embrace them as opportunities to become stronger. Each challenge prepares you to face a tougher one. View discomfort as an emotional and mental gym. which strengthens your character with every obstacle overcome, turning fear into action. Fear is a natural emotion, but it can either paralyze us or drive us, depending on how we handle it. Instead of letting fear control you, use it as a signal to take action. Break your fears into smaller parts and take immediate action, even if it's small, to prove to yourself that you can move forward. Remember, the cure for fear is action. Every step you take reduces fear and strengthens your determination. Character is shaped in difficulties, just as the Stoics believe true strength emerges in the hardest moments. For them, challenges weren't obstacles, but tests that revealed a person's true character. In dark times, we show who we really are. When facing a challenge, remember that you're not being destroyed but shaped. Picture each problem as a forge that refines your character, making you stronger, wiser, and better prepared for what's ahead. Learning to handle difficulties. In short, learning to handle difficulties is a skill that turns problems into opportunities. By adopting a positive mindset, focusing on what we can control, learning from mistakes, practicing patience, embracing discomfort, facing fear with action, and strengthening character in adversity, you will transform challenges into stepping stones for a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Are you ready to accept the challenge? Lesson 5. Celebrate, breathe, and repeat. Starting a project is easy, right? At first, there's excitement, energy, and optimism. But what happens after a few weeks? The enthusiasm fades and the desire to continue drops. When things start to feel repetitive, motivation slips away like water through your fingers. If you've ever felt this way, don't worry, you're not alone. The key is to learn how to keep your motivation going without burning yourself out in the process. The first thing to understand is that motivation isn't something that lasts forever. It's like fuel. It needs to be replenished regularly. If you don't take care of it, it burns out. But how do you keep that energy without feeling drained? The trick is celebrate, breathe, and repeat. Progress doesn't always come in big leaps. Sometimes improvement is like building a house with bricks. Each day you add a new brick, and although you might not see much progress right away, in the end, you'll have a solid structure. Don't let the lack of quick results discourage you. Celebrate the small wins when you move a little further. Finish that chapter of the book you've been putting off? Congratulations. Got up early to work out after weeks of procrastination? Applaud yourself. And don't forget to focus on what you can control and let go of what isn't up to you. This philosophy is key to motivation. Often frustration arises because we try to do too much at once, want fast results, aim to accomplish everything, and be perfect. That, my friend, is not only unrealistic but also the path to burnout. Breathe. Take a break when you need it. Don't overwhelm yourself. It's not about being the best every day, but about constantly improving without draining all your energy. Take one step at a time, and when it feels like too much, stop and reflect. The road to success isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. The key to daily progress is repetition, but not in doing the same thing like a robot. The secret is to find variety within your routine. If you do the same thing all the time, you'll soon get tired and the motivation will fade. Shift your focus. Find new challenges within your daily activities. If you've mastered one habit, why not make it more challenging? If you work out, add more time or change up the routine. If you read, try new genres. Repetition doesn't have to be boring. If you keep your curiosity, the journey of constant improvement won't be straight or easy. There will be days when motivation disappears and you'll feel like quitting. But remember, the key is to celebrate small victories. Breathe when it all feels too much and repeat intelligently, always finding new ways to stay engaged. Motivation isn't a flame that lights up once and lasts forever. It's like fire. It needs to be fed with patience and consistency. So don't give up. Every small step counts, and in the end, the sum of all these steps will get you to your goal. As my father always said, progress isn't in big leaps, but in the small victories of each day. Lesson 6. Get out of your comfort zone. Staying too long in your comfort zone can be like living in a bubble. It seems like everything's fine, but in reality, you're suffocating without even realizing it. Excess comfort makes you forget what it's truly like to live. It's like a couch that hugs you too much, making you feel safe, but at the same time, limiting your space to grow and learn. It's time to break out of that bubble before it bursts. Leaving the comfort zone. Leaving the comfort zone may feel scary. No one wants to give up the safety of the familiar to step into the unknown, but the key is to take it one step at a time. Instead of throwing yourself in all at once, walk toward the new, step by step. Fear will be with you, but it's a reminder that you're alive and moving, not stagnant. The Stoics didn't fear challenges. They saw them as opportunities to grow. They said, improve a little each day. To get out of this zone, start with small changes. Think of it like walking on a tightrope. You won't jump all at once, but you'll begin walking slowly, with balance. This way, you can begin making changes in your life. It doesn't take big leaps, just small but steady steps. Small goals. Small goals are crucial. If you try to run a marathon right away, you'll end up with pain and frustration. But if you set a goal to walk 20 minutes a day, by the end of the week, you'll have walked 140 minutes. It's not a revolution, but it's progress. If you do this every day, you'll notice you've covered quite a distance. The comfort zone, a trap for growth. Leaving the comfort zone doesn't have to be something drastic. It's about taking small actions that promote your growth. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, true freedom is not in comfort, but in learning how to grow in any situation. Next time you feel like returning to your comfort zone, take a deep breath, take the first step, and see fear as your ally. Life is not about comfort, but discomfort allows your evolution. As Carl Jung said, life begins where your comfort zone ends. Though humans are adaptable, we tend to seek comfort and predictability because our minds crave efficiency and familiar paths. This happens because of the dopamine released when we do familiar tasks, which brings us satisfaction without requiring much mental effort. Lesson 7. The unknown and personal growth. When we face the unknown, we initially experience a shock, but overcoming it brings a reward. The dopamine released when we learn something new drives us to keep going. Real growth happens when we leave the comfort zone. Neuroscience shows that learning and pushing ourselves create new neural connections and a healthier brain. The comfort zone, which feels safe, is a trap that prevents us from growing. It makes us believe we're protected, but in reality, it limits us. Over time, what once felt pleasurable loses its ability to satisfy us. This adaptation to comfort is natural, but over time, it leads to dissatisfaction. Examples of transformation history is full of people who stepped out of their comfort zones and achieved profound transformations. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced hardships with wisdom and didn't let complacency trap him. He used his challenges as opportunities to learn and grow. More recently, Steve Jobs faced failures before creating one of the world's most influential companies. He stepped out of his comfort zone and challenged the system, achieving success. Fear and personal growth athletes like Serena Williams and Michael Jordan also faced their fears to achieve great feats. They overcame physical and mental barriers, showing that true growth only happens when we dare to push our limits. Fear, often seen as the enemy of progress, can actually be a great ally. It shows us that we are entering unknown territory, where growth happens. The paradox of fear is that, while it can paralyze us, it may also propel us forward. There are two types of fear: the useful and the paralyzing. The useful fear pushes us to act, make decisions, and move forward. Paralyzing fear, on the other hand, makes us stop, fills us with doubt, and keeps us stuck. Being able to differentiate between the two and use fear to our advantage is crucial for growth. Leaving the comfort zone. Gradually, leaving the comfort zone doesn't need to be sudden. There are many ways to take small, controlled steps. One technique is negative visualization, a Stoic practice that helps prepare us mentally for the worst-case scenario. This helps us stop fearing the unknown and become more prepared when challenges arise. Another helpful technique is gradual exposure. If public speaking is your fear, start with a small group and gradually increase the audience size. This way, you'll get used to the discomfort and build confidence over time. The cost of staying in the comfort zone. Staying in the comfort zone comes at a high cost. By avoiding challenges, you prevent your own growth. It may seem like you're safe, but in reality, you're sacrificing your potential and opportunities. Stagnation affects your professional life, projects, and even your mental health. A lack of new experiences and challenges leads to unhappiness because you're not achieving your goals or evolving as a person. In summary, leaving the comfort zone doesn't need to be something drastic, but rather a gradual process of confronting fear and the unknown. This not only opens doors for personal growth, but also for a richer and more fulfilling life. In the long run, living in the comfort zone leads to a mediocre life, where temporary comfort becomes a false sense of security keeping us from true happiness. Dissatisfaction doesn't just come from suffering, but also from the lack of challenges and growth. In contrast, those who dare to leave this zone, even when facing difficulties, experience a life full of satisfaction, purpose, and a constant sense of achievement. Neuroscience and growth. Leaving the comfort zone isn't easy, but it's one of the most powerful choices for personal growth. Neuroscience helps us understand how the brain seeks security, but also how it can be trained to face the new and find pleasure in challenges. Historical and current examples show that true growth happens when we face the unexpected and push our own limits. By changing our relationship with fear and applying techniques like visualization and gradual exposure, we can break through barriers and live a full life. Lesson 8. Mental noise. Have you noticed the constant noise in your mind? That internal dialogue that, instead of helping, seems to sabotage every step you try to take. It's like having an inner DJ, but instead of motivation, it only plays negative thoughts. And it's hard to move forward with that mental noise, right? The problem is that this noise often turns into a block that stops us from acting. What if I make a mistake? What if it doesn't work? These questions keep repeating, as if the mind is obsessed. But the point isn't that we can't control what we think, but rather that we can learn to control how we react to those thoughts. It's not magic, it's Stoic philosophy. The Stoics taught us to learn to distinguish what we can control from what we cannot. Thoughts are like the wind. You can't stop them from blowing, but you can choose which way your sail will go. In other words, the internal dialogue is just that, a noise. What matters is what you do with it. If you give in to doubt and insecurity, that's the path you'll take. But if you take a step forward without letting fear paralyze you, the noise will lose its power. How to deal with mental noise. What can you do with the noise that holds you back? First, recognize it. Don't ignore it, face it. Instead of sticking to "I can't," ask, "Why can't I?" If you're honest with yourself, you'll see that the only real obstacle is you. The second step is to act, even if your thoughts say otherwise. Start with one step, no matter how small. If procrastination is an issue, for example, force yourself to start, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes will turn into 10, and soon an entire hour of action. Action quiets thoughts. And most importantly, don't expect the noise to disappear completely. In fact, it will likely always be there. What matters is not letting that noise dictate what you do or don't do. The key is consistency. Keep going even when your mind says you can't. In the end, the biggest enemy isn't outside of you, but inside your mind. The noise only has the power you give it. If you listen to it too much, you might never move forward. But if you take action, you'll see the noise fade away little by little. Each day is a new chance to silence the mental chaos and take a step forward. Pushing yourself to improve, even just a little, will ensure that in the future, the inner noise will no longer control you. As a wise saying goes, the only noise that matters is the one that leads to action. Mental noise in modern life. Mental noise is constant in our modern lives. It's not just a reflection of the individual mind, but also a product of society, education, and the environment in which we grow. From a young age, we learn beliefs and stories that shape our thinking. Phrases like, "You have to be the best," or "failure is not an option," create a constant internal pressure. Past experiences also play a big role. If, at some point, we felt rejected or not good enough, our minds tend to repeat this pattern of self-criticism. These limiting beliefs become neural pathways that reinforce mental noise, creating a cycle of negative thoughts that's hard to break. Our self-esteem is directly affected by the internal dialogue. How many times have you told yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll fail before I even try"? Changing this narrative is crucial to transforming how we see ourselves. The importance of self-compassion. Self-compassion is key. Instead of criticizing ourselves for mistakes, we can learn to be kind to ourselves, just as we would to a close friend. Phrases like "I'm learning" or "I'm stronger than I think" can shift our internal perception and boost our confidence. Stoic strategies for overcoming mental noise. The Stoics were aware of the power of mental noise and developed strategies to face it. Some of the most effective ones include speaking out loud. Marcus Aurelius would write his thoughts in the third person to distance himself from them. This exercise allows us to observe our worries without getting caught up in them. Another important technique is distinguishing what we can control from what we can't. The dichotomy of control helps us focus our energy on what we can actually change, letting go of what's beyond our reach. Negative visualization is also useful. Imagining the worst-case scenario and accepting it reduces the fear of the unknown. Once we realize that we can face any adversity, anxiety diminishes. The brain forms thinking patterns through repetition. The more we think in a certain way, the stronger those connections become. However, neuroplasticity allows us to change those patterns. Techniques like meditation and mindfulness help train the mind to focus on the present, reducing mental noise. Reflective writing is also a great way to observe thoughts from an outside perspective and reorganize them in a more constructive way. Overcoming noise with action. Setting a time limit for making decisions is a good way to prevent mental noise from consuming us. Instead of waiting for the perfect decision, it's better to act and adjust as needed. The best way to silence mental noise is through action. When we act, our attention shifts to what we're doing, rather than what we're thinking. Historical examples like Theodore Roosevelt's overcoming a sickly childhood through constant action show that acting is more effective than overthinking. In the end, noise only has power if we allow it. With self-awareness, philosophical practices like Stoicism, and decisive action, we can reduce the impact of mental noise and live with more clarity and inner peace. Lesson 9. The enemy in the mirror. Today we're going to talk about that invisible friend that's always lurking, trying to make you believe that you can't. I'm not talking about the imaginary friend from childhood, but something much more subtle: your excuses. These small lies we tell ourselves to ease our guilt, but in reality they're stopping our progress. Recognizing these excuses is the first step toward improvement, and if you don't spot them, you'll never be able to move forward. When I look at you, I see someone amazing, but when I hear you talk about your dreams and goals, I hear excuses. They sound familiar, right? I don't have time. I'm too tired. Now's not the right time. Stoic philosophy is too hard. Excuses hide behind our insecurities and fears, making us believe that at some perfect moment in the future, everything will fall into place. That perfect future doesn't exist. If you wait for it, you'll always stay in the same spot, not taking any action. First, recognize excuses for what they are. Mental traps. They are manipulations that make you think the problem is outside of you. And of course, it's easier to blame a lack of time or bad luck than to admit that, in reality, it's you who's not taking the steps to improve. Stoic philosophy teaches us to control what's within our power and let go of what we can't change, like time, luck, and the actions of others. What depends on you are your choices. If you truly want to grow, start by examining your excuses. One effective way to do this is to write them down. It might seem pointless, but it really works. Write down every reason that's holding you back and look at them. By doing this, you'll notice that each excuse loses its power when exposed to the light. Then, next to each excuse, write a practical action you can take to move forward, even if it's just a small step. The important thing is to take action, no matter how small. Every step you take brings you closer to your goals. Another helpful tactic is to commit to improving every day. Don't wait for everything to be perfect, because that will never happen. Act, even when you don't feel like it. Get up and do a small task every day, no excuses. I'm not saying you should torture yourself, but just like the Stoics, understand that improvement is a continuous process, not something that happens all at once. Excuses lose their power when discipline becomes part of your daily routine. So, if you really want to move forward, start by recognizing the enemy reflected in the mirror. Excuses are just mental blocks, and you can overcome them with action. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the ideal conditions. The perfect moment is now, and all you need is your willingness to improve every day. Stop looking for external blame and take responsibility for the things that depend on you. Are you ready to act? As Epictetus said, the greatest obstacle you face is not outside of you. It's in the way you talk to yourself. Our brain is an incredible machine, designed for our survival, but also for comfort. Over thousands of years, we've developed mechanisms to avoid pain and seek the easiest path. This is what we call the comfort bias. This bias pushes us to avoid situations we see as difficult or uncomfortable, justifying them with excuses that, although they might seem logical, only keep us stuck. One of the mechanisms that reinforce these excuses is cognitive dissonance. When our actions aren't in line with our values or desires, our brain creates excuses to relieve that discomfort. That's why we often delay important changes or convince ourselves that the time isn't right. Excuses reflect our fears and desire for comfort, but they can become empowering statements when we shift our perspective. "I don't have time" becomes, "I'll make 10 minutes a day for this." Time isn't found, it's made. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote in his journal, "Even though I rule an empire, if he could find time, you can too." Lesson 10. Overcoming excuses with action. "I'm not good enough" can turn into, "I'll only get better if I start." Epictetus, born a slave but never letting that limit his growth, knew that progress comes with action. "I need to wait for the right moment" becomes, "The best moment is now." There's no ideal future without the actions of the present. One of the best ways to beat excuses is to make a public commitment. When we share our goals with others, we create an obligation that pushes us to take action. Psychological studies show that people who make public commitments are more likely to achieve their goals. You can apply this in different ways, like announcing a goal on social media, finding someone to help keep you focused, or creating a visible record of your progress. The Stoics used several techniques to strengthen discipline and beat procrastination, like negative visualization. Ask yourself, what will happen if I keep procrastinating? Memento mori. Remember that life is short, and every day wasted is a day less. Overcoming procrastination and analysis paralysis. The Stoic Journal is a great tool to reflect on how you've dealt with your excuses and learn from them. The key to overcoming analysis paralysis is focusing on small, consistent actions. You don't have to change your life all at once. Just take one small step each day. If you want to read more, start with 1 page a day. If you want to exercise, begin with 5 minutes. If you want to write, start with 1 sentence. The accumulation of small wins builds momentum and boosts your confidence. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, never used exhaustion as an excuse to stop learning or reflecting. Epictetus, as a slave, could have accepted his fate, but he chose to study and became one of the greatest philosophers. The pursuit of perfection is one of the most dangerous excuses because it justifies inaction. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to take action. The idea of imperfect action allows you to move forward without being paralyzed by the fear of making mistakes. In short, excuses are mental barriers we can overcome with small shifts in perspective and continuous action. Life doesn't wait. So, start today, even if it's just with 1 small step. Building a defense against excuses are a comfortable yet dangerous refuge we create to avoid responsibility. While they may often seem harmless or even justifiable, they are in fact barriers that keep us from success. Every excuse you tell yourself acts as a brick building a wall between you and your goals. When you say, "I don't have time," "I'm not ready," or "now's not the right time," you're adding another brick that pushes you farther from your potential. The key to breaking down this wall is recognizing excuses for what they really are: barriers you've built yourself. The next time you're trying to justify why you can't do something, ask yourself, is this a real reason or just a disguised excuse? Make a list of the excuses you frequently use and reflect on how they impact your results. The problem with excuses isn't just that they limit you, but that they also feed self-deception. It's easy to convince yourself you can't move forward because the circumstances aren't perfect, but that mindset becomes your greatest enemy. Practice honesty with yourself. Make a list of things you haven't accomplished and analyze whether there were truly external obstacles or if you allowed yourself to be controlled by excuses. Sometimes we choose immediate pleasure over hard work because our mind seeks comfort. However, true freedom and success come from fulfilling responsibilities, not escaping effort. Instead of avoiding tough tasks, see them as an opportunity to grow. The Stoics teach us that we shouldn't fear hard work, but inactivity. Ask yourself, what do I need to do today, even if I don't feel like it? And then, do it. The battle against excuses starts in your mind. Your inner dialogue is where you decide whether to move forward or stay stuck. Every time an excuse arises, replace it with a powerful affirmation, such as, "I am responsible for my choices." Also, imagine the long-term consequences of giving in to the excuse versus acting despite it. Instead of seeing excuses as obstacles, view them as opportunities to strengthen your willpower. One reason excuses are so tempting is that they allow us to avoid immediate sacrifices. But what we fail to realize is that these small sacrifices are essential for achieving big rewards in the future. If you give up 30 minutes of social media to study, work on a project, or exercise, the results will compound over time. Change your view of sacrifice. It's not a loss, it's an investment. One of the most damaging habits is delaying important actions in the hope that tomorrow will be better. The problem is that tomorrow never comes. Adopt the mantra, start now. Even if it's just one small step, take it today. If you want to exercise, do 10 minutes instead of an hour. If you want to learn something new, read one page instead of a whole chapter. The key is breaking the cycle of inaction. Building a defense against excuses doesn't mean eliminating all obstacles, but rather taking responsibility for your choices and facing challenges with determination. Excuses might seem small, but over time they accumulate and push you farther from your dreams. By training your mind to reject justifications and take action now, you're not just creating a defense against excuses, but a bridge to success. Our mind, designed for survival, can be our greatest obstacle when it comes to achieving our goals. Lesson 11. Mental traps and confirmation bias. One of the hardest traps to spot is the justification for inactivity. We often convince ourselves that the circumstances aren't favorable, that we don't have enough skill, or that the moment isn't right. These thoughts aren't just random ideas, but psychological defense strategies that help us delay taking action. Confirmation bias plays a big role in this, as it leads us to search for information that confirms what we already believe. If we think we won't be good at something because we've never been before, our mind will look for examples that reinforce that belief, ignoring any contrary evidence. Overcoming procrastination and analysis paralysis. We often say, when things fall into place, I'll start. However, the truth is, there will never be a perfect moment. The idea of having complete control makes us believe we need everything ready before we begin. But in reality, progress comes with action, not waiting. This desire for control is closely linked to procrastination. We feel uncomfortable with uncertainty, and instead of facing it, we delay making decisions. But waiting until we feel prepared is a flawed strategy. The path to success is made through adjustments along the way. Changing your inner dialogue. The way we talk to ourselves directly affects how we see the world. By changing how we speak to ourselves, we can deeply alter our perspective of reality. Instead of saying, I don't have time, try, it's not a priority right now. Instead of saying, I'm not ready, say, I can start and improve over time. Instead of, I'm not good at this, say, I can learn with practice. These small changes in wording help us take more responsibility for our choices, rather than blaming circumstances or making excuses. The role of environment and perfectionism. Excuses are learned. Since childhood, we hear phrases like, you can't do this in this economy. No one in my family has achieved that, or it's not worth trying. Our surroundings shape our beliefs, and if we are surrounded by people who justify inactivity, it's easier to adopt that mindset too. On the other hand, being around people who act despite difficulties can change how we think and, consequently, our results. Perfectionism often disguises itself as a virtue, but in practice, it's a sophisticated excuse to avoid taking action. Those who seek perfection often end up paralyzed by the fear of failure. The key is knowing the difference between doing something well and not doing it because of the fear it won't be perfect. Imperfect action always beats perfect inaction. To overcome paralysis, it's important to adopt practical strategies, such as the minimum daily action. Set small goals to keep constant progress, and also have someone who can hold you accountable. Another helpful tactic is the action contract, where you write a commitment to yourself, with consequences, if you fall into excuses. Common excuses, and how to overcome them. I don't have talent is a common excuse, but skills are built through practice. I'm too old or too young. Age isn't a real obstacle, it's a mental barrier. I don't have enough money. There are always ways to start with what you have right now. Great historical figures have proven that discipline and action beat any excuse. From athletes who trained with no resources to entrepreneurs who started from scratch, the key to success was acting, not justifying inaction. Turning the pain of change into strength. Turning the pain of change into strength is essential. Change is uncomfortable and often painful, but avoiding the pain of growth only keeps us stuck in mediocrity. Accepting discomfort as part of the process is what separates those who move forward from those who stay stuck. Practical exercises to overcome excuses. A useful technique to identify and eliminate excuses is to keep an excuse journal. In it, write down each justification and analyze its validity each week. Another strategy is the self technique. When you identify an excuse, take immediate, small action. Also, adopt the mindset of, there's no plan B. Acting as if success is the only option and taking responsibility for your actions, without excuses, is the first step toward a life of achievement. Don't wait for ideal conditions. Act now. Comparison and its effects. Comparison is a happiness trap. Have you ever found yourself looking at others and thinking, why can't I have that? Or, why am I not as successful as that person? If so, you've fallen into the trap of comparison, which steals your peace and fills you with doubts and frustrations. Comparison is a dangerous game that takes us off our own path. Instead of focusing on our own journey, we spend time measuring others' progress, always looking for something to discourage us. The comparison trap. It's like you're running a marathon, but instead of looking at the finish line, you're watching the other runners, trying to compare yourself. This causes you to lose focus, trip, and fall behind. The secret is understanding that comparison is actually a trap. While you might think it helps you move faster, what it really does is paralyze you. Stoic philosophy and focus on what you can control. The Stoic philosophers taught that true peace comes from focusing on what we can control, not what others do. They understood that we can't win a race if we keep looking at the other runners. The solution to comparison. So, what's the solution? The answer is simple but not easy. Focus on your own path. Commit to improving a little every day, even if it's just a little. You don't have to be the best at everything, but you can be better than yesterday. It's not about taking huge steps, but about taking small steps consistently. Focus on your own growth. Letting go of comparison is key. Focus your energy on what you can control, your actions, thoughts, and habits. Don't waste time on things you can't change. Each day brings a new opportunity to be slightly better and get closer to what you want. It will sometimes be harder, but the important thing is to keep going. The path to personal growth. When you catch yourself comparing with others, remember that your journey is unique. Your life isn't a competition or a ranking. The only real opponent is yourself. If you work to improve every day, you'll be amazed at how far you've come. The true competition. As Brian Tracy said, the true competition is becoming better than you were yesterday, not comparing yourself to others. In a world dominated by social media, where everything seems perfect, it's easy to fall into comparison. However, what we don't see are the struggles and insecurities that others face. The reality behind social media. What we see on social media is an edited, curated version of reality. Comparing our lives to others based on that filtered view only creates insecurity and frustration. Accepting our uniqueness. Everyone has their own pace and process. What matters is appreciating our personal growth without measuring it against others' standards. Our journey is unique and valuable. The impact of comparison on self-esteem. Constant comparison can harm our self-esteem. If we measure our successes by the achievements of others, we may lose trust in ourselves. Recognizing our own victories, no matter how small, keeps us motivated to move forward with more confidence. Every small step forward deserves to be celebrated, as it reflects our effort and growth. Gratitude and comparison. When we focus on what others have, we forget to appreciate what we've got. Gratitude is an essential tool to fight comparison and its negative effects. Instead of dwelling on what we lack, we should learn to acknowledge what we've already accomplished. By practicing gratitude daily, we shift our perspective and feel more content with our lives. Comparison consumes a lot of emotional and mental energy. That effort could be better used for our personal growth, learning new skills, and achieving goals. Every minute spent lamenting what we don't have is time that could be invested in building the future we want. The most important benchmark is our own progress. Rather than comparing ourselves to others, we should measure ourselves against who we were before. Focus on personal growth. This shift in perspective allows us to focus on real improvements. By reflecting on our progress, recognizing what we've learned, and celebrating each step, we achieve a genuine sense of accomplishment. Comparison can also affect relationships. Feeling envy or resentment toward friends and family creates tension. Instead of seeing others' successes as a threat, we can be inspired by them and celebrate their achievements without damaging our self-esteem. Practicing empathy and recognizing others' merits strengthens our bonds and creates healthier connections. Success isn't always immediate. Many people who seem to have succeeded quickly worked hard for a long time to get there. Comparing ourselves to them without knowing their story can be unfair to ourselves. Building a strong foundation. It's important to focus on building a solid foundation for the future, rather than seeking instant gratification. Patience and persistence lead to lasting and meaningful results. To avoid the trap of comparison, we can use strategies to keep our attention on our own growth, limiting time on social media and reducing exposure to content that creates insecurity is a good way to stay focused on real life. Being around people who inspire us is also crucial. If we surround ourselves with individuals who motivate and support us, our self-esteem is strengthened. Practicing gratitude and keeping a gratitude journal helps us focus on the good things in life. Setting personal goals keeps us centered on our own progress, not on others. Adopting an abundance mindset, rather than a competitive one, also helps us find inner peace. Final thoughts on comparison. Comparison, if not kept in check, can be harmful. However, by focusing on our own path and celebrating our accomplishments, we can free ourselves from this weight and live more authentically. From dreamer to doer. How many times have you seen yourself as a dreamer, full of bright ideas, but unable to turn them into reality? Dreaming is great, but action is what truly matters. Imagine you are an architect with an incredible project, but if you don't start drawing the plans and hiring a team, the idea will never come to life. The same goes for you. Without action, ideas remain just ideas. Stoic wisdom in action. The Stoics, an ancient school of philosophy, knew very well that what matters is what we do, not just what we think. To become a doer, it's not enough to have goals. You need a clear plan and daily commitment to evolve. The key is to take small, consistent steps. Instead of focusing on the final result, concentrate on one step at a time. For example, if you want to write a book, focus on writing one paragraph a day. If you want to lose weight, start with 30 minutes of walking. Overcoming procrastination. Procrastination isn't just laziness, it's also fear of failure and lack of clarity. To fight it, try the 2-minute rule. If a task can be done in under 2 minutes, do it right away. Also, having daily rituals like planning your day the night before or starting with a motivating activity can help overcome procrastination. The importance of environment and motivation. Your environment has a big impact on your productivity. If you're surrounded by negative people or in a messy space, your energy and focus will be affected. To be more productive, create an environment that inspires you. An organized workspace, motivating music, and people who share your values. Eliminate unnecessary distractions and commitments that don't add value to your life. The importance of visualization. Visualization isn't just about imagining success, but also about planning the steps to achieve it. High-performance athletes use this technique to mentally rehearse each move before executing it. By visualizing challenges, planning strategies, and focusing on small progress, you boost your motivation and confidence. SMART goals. To make your dreams a reality, it's important to set clear goals. SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, turn vague wishes into clear objectives. For example, instead of saying, "I want to be fit," set a goal like, run 5 kilometers in under 30 minutes within 3 months, training 3 times a week. Tracking your progress keeps motivation high and allows for adjustments along the way. Overcoming fear of failure. Fear of failure is a big barrier. To overcome it, adopt a growth mindset, where mistakes are seen as learning opportunities. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Each mistake brought him closer to the solution. Similarly, Steve Jobs was fired from his own company, but later returned and revolutionized technology. The key is to learn from obstacles and use them as fuel to keep moving forward. Conclusion. Action is what turns dreams into reality. Procrastination, fear, and comparison can keep us stuck, but with small daily actions and a growth-focused mindset, we can achieve our goals. Remember, the important thing is not waiting for the perfect moment, but using the present moment to take action. Developing habits and routines. Willpower is limited, but well-structured systems can make success easier to achieve. Creating routines that encourage action, like setting fixed times for work or including productive breaks, is key. By cultivating strong daily habits, you reduce the reliance on inspiration and become more consistent in achieving your goals. Recognizing your own progress is essential to keep motivation high. Celebrate even small victories, like completing tough tasks or maintaining healthy habits. Creating reward rituals, such as enjoying something you like or sharing your progress with a trusted person, helps reinforce your commitment and strengthens your support system. Making action easier. Make action easier than inaction. Use visual reminders, alarms, or set fixed times for important tasks. For instance, If you want to read more, place a book by your bed. If you want to eat healthier, have healthy options within reach. Small changes in your environment can be crucial in tipping the balance between success and procrastination. Also, it's important to understand why you take action. Reflect on your true motivations and how your goals align with your values. Reflection exercises can help clarify your purpose and guide you when discouragement sets in. Stoicism in action. Stoicism teaches us to accept challenges as part of the process and focus on what we can control, our own actions. Phrases like, "Don't control what happens, but how you respond," can inspire us to act with determination, without waiting for the perfect conditions to begin. Imposter syndrome, the feeling of not being good enough, may arise, but to overcome it, focus on small wins and seek positive feedback. Learning to differentiate between constructive and destructive self-criticism strengthens self-confidence and prevents self-sabotage. Setting boundaries and prioritizing what matters. Every yes to something unnecessary is a no to what really matters. Learning to set boundaries and prioritize activities that truly contribute to your goals is essential. Saying no firmly is a skill that allows you to focus on what really matters. Success doesn't happen overnight, but rather through the accumulation of small daily efforts. Improving 1% each day and adopting positive habits leads to significant achievements over time. Patience and consistency are key. Personal growth doesn't happen by chance, but through the disciplined application of practical principles and strategies. Conclusion: continuous improvement. Adopt these ideas and commit to being the best version of yourself. The art of failing wisely. We spend much of our lives trying to avoid failure, but when it happens, we often feel defeated. What if I told you that making mistakes could actually be the quickest way to improve? Of course, failing isn't as glamorous as winning, but the Stoics already knew that it's possible to face adversity with grace and learn from it. The real key isn't to avoid failure, but to use it as a tool for growth. Failure is a teacher that, even though we try to dodge it, can teach us more than any book. When we fail, emotions often take over. Shame, frustration, and regret appear like a dark cloud. But if we can stop and look beyond the emotional reaction, we'll see that failure is pointing out areas where we can improve. Failure is like a map that, when properly understood, can guide us toward betterment. I'm not saying you should be happy with mistakes, but instead change the way you look at them. With every failure, don't view it as a defeat, but as an opportunity to learn something new about yourself, your limitations, and what really matters. Frustration as an opportunity for growth. As the Stoics say, pain and failure are inevitable, but what matters is how we react. Embracing failure isn't a magic formula, but it requires planning and continuous action. Stoic philosophy invites us to see each day as a chance to be better than yesterday, even if it's just a little. Every mistake has priceless value if we choose to use it as a learning tool. Just like at the gym, where you're not as strong at first, but over time become more resilient, failure, when approached the right way, can make us stronger. Failure as a stepping stone to success. The secret isn't to avoid falling, but to learn how to get up stronger, wiser, and with a renewed attitude. As the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'd also add, if you don't fail, you don't learn. So the next time you fall, do it with style, because you'll learn much more than you expect. Failing as part of success. Marcus Aurelius said, "It's not the mistake that matters, but what you do after it." Failure has often been seen as an obstacle to success, but we can reshape that view. Every stumble can be an opportunity to grow, a necessary step toward achieving something bigger. This text explores how to turn mistakes into powerful lessons for personal development. Every mistake is like an experiment, where we learn what worked and what didn't. By approaching failure with curiosity, we can celebrate the insights it gives us. By adopting this mindset, failure becomes an ally, not an obstacle. Building resilience. Through failure, resilience isn't something you're born with, but a skill that gets stronger with practice. Every time we face a failure and rise again, we become tougher. Failure stops being something devastating and becomes a stepping stone to success. Learning from small mistakes, like a failed conversation or a minor error, can prepare us for bigger challenges down the road. Conclusion on failure. Every mistake is an opportunity to see areas where we need to improve, things we might not have noticed before. Learning from these mistakes lets us follow a more authentic path, one aligned with our values. When properly understood, failure becomes a powerful tool for our growth. Lesson 12. Free yourself from the fear of judgment. Shame after a mistake can be more paralyzing than the failure itself. We worry about what others think, and the fear of external judgment often holds back our growth. Stoic philosophy teaches us to let go of the concern about what will people say and focus on our personal development. When we shift our focus to our progress, the weight of shame lightens, and we are freer to learn from our mistakes. Failing doesn't always mean carelessness. Often it's a sign of courage, just like innovators and entrepreneurs exploring new ideas. Intentional failure is a display of bravery, not incompetence. Failing with intention means we are pushing our limits and seeking new possibilities. It's proof that we're after growth, not comfort. The greatest examples of success are built on a foundation of failures. Inventors and elite athletes faced setbacks that made their victories even more meaningful. This perspective turns our own mistakes into important chapters in our story of overcoming challenges. The quest for perfection can be paralyzing. Those who strive for perfection often fear making mistakes so much that they don't try at all. By adopting the mindset of a learner, we accept mistakes as part of the journey. Every stumble is a learning opportunity and a chance to improve. This attitude frees us from the pressure of being perfect and lets us move forward with confidence. Talking about our mistakes not only frees us, but also strengthens our relationships. When we share our failures, we show others they're not alone in their struggles. Additionally, by vocalizing our mistakes, we can clearly see the lessons we can draw from them. Vulnerability, far from being weakness, becomes a bridge to more genuine connections. After we make a mistake, the common question is, why did this happen to me? Focusing on this question traps us in frustration. By shifting the question to, what can I learn from this? We turn the mistake into a tool for growth. This shift in perspective empowers us to seek solutions and apply the lessons learned in future situations. Failure tests our commitment to our goals. We spend a lot of our lives trying to avoid failure, but when it happens, we often feel defeated. What if I told you that making mistakes could actually be the fastest way to improve? Sure, failing isn't as appealing as winning, but the Stoics understood that we can face challenges with grace and learn from them. The true key isn't avoiding failure, but using it as a tool to grow. Failure is a teacher that, even though we try to avoid it, can teach us more than any book. When we fail, emotions often take over. Shame, frustration, and regret appear like a dark cloud. But if we can stop and look beyond the emotional reaction, we'll see that failure is pointing out areas where we can improve. Failure is like a map that, when properly understood, can guide us toward betterment. I'm not saying you should be happy with mistakes, but instead, change the way you look at them. With every failure, don't view it as a defeat, but as an opportunity to learn something new about yourself, your limitations, and what really matters. Frustration as an opportunity for growth. As the Stoics say, pain and failure are inevitable, but what matters is how we react. Embracing failure isn't a magic formula, but it requires planning and continuous action. Stoic philosophy invites us to see each day as a chance to be better than yesterday, even if it's just a little. Every mistake has priceless value if we choose to use it as a learning tool. Just like at the gym, where you're not as strong at first, but over time become more resilient. Failure, when approached the right way, can make us stronger. Failure as a stepping stone to success. The secret isn't to avoid falling, but to learn how to get up stronger, wiser, and with a renewed attitude. As the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'd also add, if you don't fail, you don't learn. So the next time you fall, do it with style, because you'll learn much more than you expect. Failing as part of success. Marcus Aurelius said, "It's not the mistake that matters, but what you do after it." Failure has often been seen as an obstacle to success, but we can reshape that view. Every stumble can be an opportunity to grow, a necessary step toward achieving something bigger. This text explores how to turn mistakes into powerful lessons for personal development. Every mistake is like an experiment, where we learn what worked and what didn't. By approaching failure with curiosity, we can celebrate the insights it gives us. By adopting this mindset, failure becomes an ally, not an obstacle. Building resilience. Through failure, resilience isn't something you're born with, but a skill that gets stronger with practice. Every time we face a failure and rise again, we become tougher. Failure stops being something devastating and becomes a stepping stone to success. Learning from small mistakes, like a failed conversation or a minor error, can prepare us for bigger challenges down the road. Conclusion on failure. Every mistake is an opportunity to see areas where we need to improve, things we might not have noticed before. Learning from these mistakes lets us follow a more authentic path, one aligned with our values. When properly understood, failure becomes a powerful tool for our growth. Lesson 13. Surround yourself with the right people. Have you thought about the people around you? The environment has more power over us than we realize. It can make the difference between staying stuck or moving forward toward the constant improvement you desire. It's not about being surrounded by influencers or gurus, but by people who genuinely challenge you to be better, who push you to break your own limits. You might think, I can't choose the people around me. I get it. Circumstances are not always easy, but there is something you can do. Choose how to respond to these people and, more importantly, decide where you invest your energy. The Stoics knew that the environment doesn't define who we are, but we choose how to react to it. So, even amid chaos, we can force ourselves to improve every day. The power of the environment is real. If you're surrounded by people who just validate you without challenging you, you're on dangerous ground. It's like trying to learn to swim in a shallow pool. You might float, but are you really moving forward? To grow, you need a tribe that pushes you, that makes you step out of your comfort zone. It's crucial to find people who challenge you to go beyond your limits. So, take a moment to analyze your closest circle. Ask yourself, who gives you energy and who drains it? Who challenges you and who keeps you stuck in the same habits? Improvement doesn't mean making drastic changes, but being mindful of where you spend your time and energy. Don't cling to the comfort of people who want everything to stay the same. If there's no growth, what's the point? Surrounding yourself with people who push you doesn't mean having only geniuses or experts by your side. It's about finding those who, regardless of their success or wisdom, have the ability to inspire you to be better. Sometimes the people you least expect are the ones who teach you the most. Continuous improvement isn't a destination, but a journey. And on this journey, we need travel companions who keep us on track. Finally, if you want to move forward, you need to be surrounded by people who are also moving forward. Stoic philosophy teaches us that, although we can't control everything around us, we can choose how we face situations. If you surround yourself with the right people, the path to improving day by day becomes much easier. While the process isn't simple, the right tribe can make the effort worthwhile. Remember, your environment doesn't determine your destiny, but it can be the force that pushes you to reach your goals. The kind of relationships and decisions you make daily act as the soil where your dreams can grow or be blocked. Reflect on the pillars that can help you create an environment that fuels personal transformation. The value of your relationships is not in the number of people around you, but in the quality of the interactions. A small circle of authentic people committed to your growth can be more valuable than a large, superficial one. Analyze who adds to your life and who subtracts from it. How many of your daily interactions really contribute to your growth or well-being? Spend more time with people who inspire and support you, instead of seeking validation in shallow relationships. Some people don't teach with words, but with actions. Seek to be near those who live with integrity, as their examples can become a model to follow. It's not enough to seek amazing people. Also strive to be a positive influence. Be a source of support, offer honest feedback, and encourage those around you. Healthy relationships grow through reciprocity. Identify the people who drain your energy and set boundaries to protect your well-being. Recognize the individuals who take away your energy and learn how to set clear boundaries to safeguard your peace of mind. Doing this with respect and understanding helps maintain healthy and constructive relationships. Don't be afraid to seek out people who are ahead of you. It may feel intimidating, but these relationships can be a significant source of learning and inspiration. Mentors, leaders, or experts in fields you're interested in can challenge you to step out of your comfort zone and push yourself further. Take the opportunity to learn from them and, at the same time, find ways to give back, whether through your gratitude or your willingness to grow. The ideal environment combines challenge and support. The perfect environment is one that balances challenge and support. Look for people who are brave enough to point out when you're wrong, but who also know how to encourage you when you need it most. A group that only criticizes can exhaust you, while one that only validates your choices may limit your growth. The balance between these two approaches is where true development happens. People with different views can be a great source of learning. People who think differently from you can be a valuable source of learning. A diverse environment in terms of experiences, skills, and perspectives broadens your worldview and sparks creativity. Avoid the temptation to surround yourself only with people who agree with you. A variety of ideas not only enriches your thinking, but also prepares you to approach problems in more innovative ways. Appreciate those who challenge your beliefs, choices, or actions. Be thankful for those who have the courage to question your beliefs, choices, or actions. While this might feel uncomfortable at first, those conversations force you to reflect and often lead to better decisions. Surround yourself with those who refuse to settle for less than what they know you're capable of achieving. The choices you make about who you spend your time with directly affect your energy. Each time you choose who to spend your time with, you're making a small decision that directly impacts your energy and motivation. Pay attention to how these choices shape your environment and, in turn, your growth. Spend more time with people who inspire you, motivate you, and help you become the best version of yourself. Expand your circle if you feel it's not helping your growth. If you feel your current circle isn't supporting your growth, widen your horizons. Join workshops, interest groups, or communities that align with your goals. Making new connections might take effort, but the opportunities and lessons that come from being in the right environments can transform your life. Your social circle reflects your personality and priorities. Your social circle reflects many aspects of your personality and your priorities. If you surround yourself with motivated, creative, and purposeful people, you're more likely to adopt those same values. On the other hand, a negative environment can limit your potential. Reflect periodically to see if the people around you are helping you become who you want to be. Social media and content you consume are part of your environment. In the digital age, social media and the content you consume are also part of your environment. What you see online can have a significant impact on your mindset and energy. Follow people and accounts that inspire you and avoid content that feeds comparison or pessimism. Don't underestimate the power of gratitude for those who support and inspire you. Never underestimate the power of expressing gratitude to those who support and inspire you. Gratitude not only strengthens relationships, but also helps you acknowledge the contributions others make to your life. A simple thank you can strengthen your bonds with your circle and remind you of how important it is to have people who help guide you on your path. Your environment is more than just the physical space. Your environment extends beyond the physical space you're in. It consists of the people, ideas, and energies you choose to surround yourself with. Every decision about who you let into your life, the conversations you engage in, and the influences you accept impacts your growth or limits your progress. Be intentional, focus on quality over quantity, and create a circle that reflects the best version of yourself. Call to action. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment so YouTube knows this content is helping people like you. That way, we can continue making more videos like this in the future.